short of one, but I did have a very nice Tom Collins cocktail at the weekend. So maybe I'll recreate that because it's very sunny here and it's lovely.
And is Tom Collins the person who invented it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think, he was the first person that brought it all together originally.
All right. Can I have a Baileys? I can have a Baileys for
Baileys and lemonade. Lovely.
Thanks very much. Okay, this week's first smart speaker goes to Frank, who sends in tonight's confession. Thank you, Frank. Father Simon, many years ago, in 1981 to be precise, I was a fine upstanding member of Her Majesty's Constabulary in a small sleepy town in the north of England. The station was small, there was an inspector, 2 sergeants and 8 constables. Between us, we covered 24/7. As a young constable in a small town, one of my many duties was to do the occasional talk at local schools. Partly this was to show a friendly face of the force and demonstrate that the public can turn to us, safe in the knowledge we'll protect them. Anyway, I was booked to do a talk with the local primary school. My whole routine usually went down very well, and I would invariably end up at some point being accosted by a parent who would tell me how wonderful the lesson was. Only one day, it didn't quite work out the way it was supposed to. I had booked in said school for 10:30. My shift started at 5:30 in the morning. No sooner had I been briefed and walked out of the door of the police station that the first in a string of things and incidents occurred. It was the first really warm day of the year, and as I walked out of the station, I realised it was going to be too hot for my tunic and that shirt sleeves would be a better bet. So I took my tunic off back at the station locker room, and a call came in reporting a serious accident. I grabbed my notebook and ran to the awaiting police car and was off to protect life and create order out of the early morning chaos. Once everything was cleared up at the accident, time was ticking on closer to the appointed hour for the lesson at school. As I was leaving the scene of the accident, a local shop rang to say they'd been burgled. So off to the shop I went to see if there were any clues and fill out a report. Having completed all the paperwork, I finally headed back to the police station. But as I pulled away from the curb, an old woman collapsed.
Wow.
It's like they're all
going on.
Ganging up against
like
me.
The bill.
I looked at my watch. It was almost 10. Was I going to make the lesson at the local school? Anyway, I got out of the car, ran over to the woman. I called for an ambulance, did my best to make her comfortable, find out who she was, and arrange for a next of kin to be informed over the radio. Anyway, with my head full of accidents, burglaries and illnesses in the street and not wanting to let Class 4B down, I set off for the school direct from the scene of this latest incident. I arrived in the nick of time. Now, I had developed a particularly amusing routine, I think.
Really?
Where I would ask for volunteers to come forward and try out my handcuffs. I would choose a little girl and a little boy and handcuff them together.
Okay.
I would then pretend that I had lost the key and say something like, I hope you like each other, because you're going to have to get married now. Much to the mirth of the rest of the class and the delight of the teacher before producing the key with a flourish, which was kept on the end of my whistle chain and unlocking the relieved pair who could sit back down with a story to tell their parents at home that afternoon. You can guess where we're heading.
Yeah.
This lesson went out as planned until the moment it came to handcuff the 2 hapless 7-year-olds. The handcuffing went well, no injuries, everyone laughing at my little joke as normal. However, as I reached for my whistle chain and the attached handcuff key, I had a sudden blood-draining moment where I realised said chain and key was not in my pocket as expected. My mind went back to the first moments of my day back in the station. Oops, the chain and key must still be in my tunic. I looked in panic at the teacher, who was now not smiling. I got onto the radio to see if anyone else was around with a handcuff key. No such luck. Everyone was busy or miles away. I explained that I'd be back in about 20 minutes with the key. I set off, leaving 2 handcuffed children in the care of their teacher, who, to be honest, were looking a little worried. Actually, that's an understatement. They looked terrified.
Yeah.
I got to the station okay, retrieved the chain and the key, and was just running out of the station when a man approached me. This is the most ludicrous thing. A man approached me and asked me where the nearest railway station was. Now, this is not a big thing, right? Well, normally no, but today I recognised him as a wanted felon from the next town.
Wow!
We'd been hunting him for some time. I couldn't believe my luck, so I arrested him, dragged him into the station. Anyway, to cut a long story short, once all the paperwork had been done, time had passed, and in all the excitement I'd forgotten what my original mission was. It wasn't until I realised with dawning horror I didn't have my handcuffs that I remembered the 2 children securely locked together at the schoolroom across town. I arrived back at the school sometime later. I'd rather not say how much later, but safe to say there were 2 children sat beside each other in the dining room, eating lunch with opposite hands, crying and being comforted by a small army of teachers, dinner ladies and assistants, with all the other children looking on in pity or mirth. One of the 2. So to the two children, who I imagine are now fully grown up and probably have their own children, I would like to say sorry. I often wonder how much therapy they had to go through over the years due to the trauma of that day. To the jury and justices of your confessional, I believe there were extenuating circumstances, but I accept full responsibility and throw myself on the mercy of the court in the hope that I can get some respite from the guilt that has been with me all these years and into my retirement. It was some time before I was invited back to do my little lesson, and I had to drop the handcuffing scene.
Yeah.
More is the pity, because I thought it was very, very funny. It always went down well, apart from this time when I handcuffed the kids together.
Yes.
Sister Susie from the pub.
Well, Frank, you know, you had a busy day, and it might have been a long time ago, but I still don't think it's okay. It's extenuating circumstances sound to me like my dog ate my homework. I feel like you just forgot. And because you forgot, I can't forgive you. There were two children there. Should never have done it in the first place. I'm not forgiving
I like
you.
the idea of the two 7-year-olds chained together and eating lunch with opposite hands.
Obviously.
Brother from another gutter.
It was all kicking off for Frank, wasn't it? Everything was
What a
happening.
day,
Wow.
what a day.
What a day. I'm going to forgive, and here's the reason why. Number one, those kids are going to have had a story. They will have dined
That's
out
true.
on that story for years afterwards. I'm sure everyone looks back at it and laughs now. And the other is, I've watched Starsky and Hutch, and apparently you just use a paperclip. Apparently that works on Starsky and Hutch. So why did no one use a paperclip? That would be my advice.
Okay.
So yes, definitely forgiven.
People's verdict.